we're going to be doing, hopefully, Game 1 of the OCS Top-16 Playoffs between Drew Lichtenstein and Jared Napolitano. Looks like they're starting now, and I do have the ability to watch the game. Excellent. Alright, so let's jump in there. I'm going to move myself over here. I'll stay over here. That's fine. Alright, so we're in. We're going. Everybody's good to go. Alright, so it looks like Drew has chosen to play light side first. He's going to play Galaxy May Need a Legend against Jared playing Carbon Chamber Testing. Sorry, just working out a couple technical details here, jumping on this last second. Alright, so we see here Drew starting a Brave Resistance, Walkling, and Strike Planning. Jared starting standard CCT things. I did not look and see what he pulled. I will do that right this second. Looks like Slave 1, Symbol of Fear, Boba Fett's Blaster Rifle, Boba Fett Virtual, and the Dungeon. A little non-standard to play the ship to me, but, you know, everybody do what you gotta do. It's not a terrible card, it's just not one we see very often. I can tell you from Drew's point of view, this is one of the matchups that he kind of expected. Having Jared be on a team with Ryan Saracen, who is a big CCT fan. We did play this game the other night, and I, as the CCT player, lost pretty handily to Drew. Though I am not in the top 16, as Jared is. I do want to apologize if I come off a little tired. I've been up for a long time today. But there's always time for Star Wars cards. Alright, so it looks like 7 Force right off the bat for Jared. Probably going to do standard CCT things. He grabbed He's All Yours Bounty Hunter already. Drops Boba Fett. We're going to see Despair. We're going to see a gun. We're going to see him play Bounty Hunter card. And we're going to see him transfer over to the Audience Chamber. Assuming the Audience Chamber is in the deck. Which it is. Chris Kelly, I almost caveated that with, as long as the wife approves. But, you know, there's always time for Star Wars cards. So Drew going to pull his grabber here. Jared already pulled his. Just going over couple game plans here, right? So Jared's going to want to set up fairly strong to the Audience Chamber. If he's running something like None Shall Pass, he's not going to have very many opportunities, so that kind of loses him a card. I would expect to see something like, if he's lucky, Duro and Egg on turn 2. Maybe a third guy. Maybe something like Arctic would be a good one to put there, or a Jabba non-V would be a good one to put there. And then he should just be doing a lot of hit and runs. That extra 3 power from Despair with Scum and Villainy lets you do a lot more hit and runs than you do in, say, Court. It's also interesting that Drew started the system here. Know that Scum and Villainy typically has a pretty good space package. Coming out of Court, it's a little better because you could pull all your ships. Coming out of CCT, you kind of have to dig for them, but obviously Egg helps with that. You might see something like a Space Cruiser, an Ellison ship, maybe a Guri and a Stinger. What else might he run? But yeah, I think that's generally Jared's game plan is going to be to drain for 2 at the Audience Chamber, set up You'll Be Dead to ping for 1, set up something in space so he doesn't have to pay for drains, and then just start attacking whatever Drew puts down. Whereas Drew's playing the disruption game here with Legend. He's going to start off a little slower, right? He's going to probably going to set up Luke to Octo, get a little generation going, and then depending on what his hand has, we'll see what he does. I mean, he could end up going to space pretty hard and just taking over Jakku for a drain of 1 or 2 if he's got Falcon, and eventually +1 if he flips. We could also see him go hard to the audience chamber. He did take Slave 1 in hand. Thank you. I knew there was another ship. We could see him go hard to the audience chamber, maybe with something like Rey and Leia with her gun, Finn and the Destiny Adder, maybe an EPP Obi, something like that. We could also see him just kind of set up over on the Carbonite chamber and just drain for 2, maybe 3 once he flips, and just make Jared have to deal with that. Let's see if he grabbed a Leia with strike planning. I assume he did that turn 1. Alright, I don't see a Leia with strike planning. So maybe that means he has Leia in his hand already. Yeah, so he's going to use a Brave Resistance here, put Leia back. We'll be able to pull her again with strike planning. Alright, so we see he puts Leia back, he grabs Finn with his upload. He has a projection of a Skywalker in hand, which is pretty good to start out with. That drain of 2 is now going to be a drain of 1 for most of the game. Does pull battle plan, probably just going to draw his last 3 or 4 cards here. So he does draw 2 cards. Alright, so we've ended turn 1 here. Jared has flipped. Probably pull Scum on his turn 2. Drew has set up Luke, prepared to flip. He's found Projection, which is pretty big, and drew a couple cards. He's also pulled the Goldenrod Shield, Battle Plan Shield, and the Grabber Shield. Jared pulled the There Is No Try Shield when I wasn't paying attention. So Jared gets 10 force, using 1 to pull He's All Yours Bounty Hunter, check his reserve deck. Definitely looking to see if he's got a Duro in there, got an IG-88 in there, got Scum in there. Maybe he's looking to see if he's got the Passenger deck in there, if he's got a Twi'lek in hand. Just kind of check out his options. Justin, I was just saying that I played this matchup against Drew the other day. I was the CCT player. He pulled Goldenrod in that game also. He says he's still has kind of a court mindset where he's worried about free guys on Jabba Space Cruiser, and a free Guri to the Stinger. Just wants to make Jared use as much force as he can. So Jared finds Scum. Has Erica V. That's a good one I did not think about. Erica V is going to be able to sit there at the audience chamber retrieving 1 every turn, in addition to his 1 retrieval from the objective. Yeah, I agree, Justin. I think you want battle plan, grabber, aim high, and weapons display. Goldenrod's kind of a luxury, but maybe he does have a shield puller. Drew's going to grab that General Leia he just put back. And presumably a Hoojix here. Alright, so Jared draws up to 12, leaves 3 behind. It's just Erica to the audience chamber. Probably not super worried. Drew's only getting 11 force right now. Everybody's going to deploy +1. You have Boba Fett to grab some kind of trick. Maybe it's a stunning leader, maybe it's a projective. Maybe it's even something like a hidden weapons. Drew going to use 1 to pull a location. Grabs Maz's Castle Antechamber. Allows him to deploy an alien once per game from reserve deck, and his force drain -1. Putting General Leia back a second time. Grabbing Rey with lightsaber. So Rey is going to go to Cloud City. Going to go to the 2-1. I would expect maybe Rose to follow. He does have Finn in hand to react with, so he can afford to deploy a little lighter there. Looks like it's going to be just Rey, actually. Draws 1 card, which puts him at 12. Now he's got to sit here and think what kind of mind games people are playing with Monarch. Does draw to 13. Saves 3 force, and we'll have 16 force to play with next turn. So Jared's going to have 15 this turn. Erica's just kind of sitting there. Flip CCT just kind of sitting there, doing nothing. Same with the prize, just kind of sitting there, doing nothing. Alright, so he found IG-88. So 4 force for IG-88. Got wiped them out for a little extra activation. Pseudo-activation. Transfers the gun over to Ig. Has a Decree Virtual. That reads to me that he's probably got something like a Stunning Leader or a Barrier in hand, just preparing for the inevitable force loss for weapons display. Most of the guys in his deck will be able to draw. And if I'm Jared here, I think I'm pretty content with this, right? So on his turn, he can pay to drain for 1 if he wants. And Drew right now can pay to drain for 2. But Jared's going to be able to retrieve those 2. So for the moment, you're content to just kind of throw Ig down, not put too much to the audience chamber. That feels pretty safe to me here. And just focus on building your hand for attacking either the 2-1 or the system if Drew ends up at either one of those. Okay, so he checked his reserve deck with the console, grabbed a He's All Yours Bounty Hunter. Does use the audience chamber text to pull Lady Proxima, which will grab him a couple more aliens every control phase, most likely, or 1 more alien every control phase. Okay, so he will transfer Jabba's prize over to Ig, grab a card here. He's going to be able to save a sizable amount of force here. If I'm him, I'm probably drawing for 1 specific card out of the 6 that are there. Maybe he found it on first try. So he saves 5. He'll activate 1 with Wipe, 1 with Carbon Chamber Testing, or with the console, excuse me. And then has 7 to search through with Ig on his turn. Drew's going to try to grab Force Projection, but doesn't find it. So now Jared will get to see kind of how space heavy this legend is, or how ground heavy it is. Just kind of know what to expect going forward. Alright, so Drew activated 13 here, plus 3 he had saved. He's going to use a Brave Resistance to throw back Rose to grab Poe Dameron. He's got 1 more pull with Strike Planning if he wants it. Alright, so we see Poe and the Falcon to Jakku. See what else he's got going there. I can't imagine that's all he's got. Lando aboard the Falcon. Lando who adds power to the Falcon. R2-D2 also aboard the Falcon. So that's pretty solid there. That is a 8 power plus whatever he retrieves with Lando, potentially. That's 3 Destiny. That is 6 Maneuver. No, that's Maneuver 6. That's immune to less than 5. Jared's cycling. He's all yours, Bounty Hunter. Alright, doesn't look like Drew drew anything there. Must be pretty content with his hand there. Jared activating 11, getting his choice of 16 cards with IG. Alright, so if you're Drew here, you're set up to do 4 damage, assuming Jared does nothing. You have Ray sitting at the 1-2 with Finn for backup, and presumably the Lady Interrupt to handle this to either make her immune to attrition or cancel a weapon destiny. You also have Finn available for backup here in space. He saved 2, so that tells me he's probably looking for a detention. Does Finn even trigger detention? I don't actually know. I don't think so. But if you drop Finn to either of these, you have the Teamwork Interrupt. The name escapes me. I'm getting pretty good at this. Available to draw 3 Destiny. Or, in this case, 5 Destiny. So I'd feel pretty good if I was Drew right now. Jared used Proxima, found Django Fett, then drained for 1. Drew lost an R2-D2 from hand. Jared also found HUD Influence, so as long as he's got 2 aliens at Jabba's Palace site, at a Tatooine Battleground site, that projection is going to be turned off, so that's back into a drain of 2. Jared also has U-3PO to block this drain of 2. U-3PO, a very dangerous card against CCT, or with CCT, because there's so much retrieval to just get him back if he's lost. So you're going to look for some way to break his cover rather than make him lost. Drew looking for that elusive force projection. Can't seem to find it. Alright, so not a bad turn for Jared. He cuts Drew's damage in half. Cuts it down to a number that he's going to be able to retrieve with Erica and CCT. His Corn Horn is frozen. Drew again can't find force projection. Must have left it with his weather vane. So he's got 17 force to work with and drains for free here. Drew probably checking out his options for his once per game tunnel vision. And Jared doing CCT things, activating 2 extra force, go grab 1 card he wants. Has 11 active still, and 11 in hand. And none in lost pile. So there's aim high. So that's all 4 shields for Drew. Here's the once per game tunnel vision. Gonna drain for 2 at Jakku. So Jared losing off his reserve deck, using Probot and Dengar with Gun V. Alright, so here's Eller's Matic. The non-Cranhorn, who I know Kessling will vilify me if I say this, but who may be better against U3PO since he can't be never Yalnold. Drew also playing his last sight. Alright, so Menace fades here. We'll drop that drain back down to 1. He is not frozen currently. He's potentially in danger of being frozen because he is at the carbonate chamber, but for now, not frozen. Alright, so we go right to move phase. Gonna break cover of U3PO, steal U3PO. Just draw a couple cards here. Alright, so that damage that was halved is now back to where it was. It's going to be drains of 2 and 2 for Drew. Whereas Jared's damage this turn was halved again. So he's going to be able to drain for 1 and retrieve 2. It's still 1 Vic. He's got HUD Influence and Erica and Fit. Alright, so Jared activates 11, has 21 force active, 6 in reserve. We might see 3 of those right now with Proxima. So Jared does spend 3 to drain for 1. Didn't see him pull something with Egg first. That's a Rescue in the Clouds off the top of reserve deck for Drew. Jared's gonna pay 1, retrieve 1. Probably pay 1 with Erica, retrieve 1. That's 5 cards he could have looked through. So he finds you'll be dead, and then remembers to take a card with Egg. Alright, so that puts his damage back up at 2 per turn, and retrieving 2 per cycle, while Drew is still sitting at drains of 2 and 2. That is a fair point, Chris Kelly. Jared keeping 12 cards in his hand, respecting that Monarch, that Grimtosh. Alright, so we see Maul, Sith Infiltrator, and Darth Maul. Deploys for 7 force. That will allow him to lose 2 to stay in space to cloak. Actually, that will allow him to take over the system right now, since Drew does not have anybody of ability 4. And we know he's not playing Corrin. We see Ray on the table already. I guess you got Leia to stop that. Maybe an Anakin. So Jared will lose 2 to cloak. Loses 4 Lam with gun and Greedo off of reserve deck. Obi is another option. I don't think he would run something like Theranet, or it's probably not Obi and Ship, or any ways to stop the cloaking. I wonder if we'll see much anger in him with Lando sitting there. Get him at least for 1 turn. Alright, so Jared activating 2 on Drew's turn. Searching with Egg. Drew has 21 force active, 5 in reserve, 12 in hand. Still very much anybody's game here. Drew paying 3 to drain for 2 at the Carbonite Chamber. Looks like Mighty Jabba from reserve deck and a Gik combo from reserve deck. Lando goes to passenger capacity. General Kenobi comes out to pilot the Falcon, even though he hates flying. So that will allow him to satisfy Maul's blanking of ability. Oh god. Does have a character of ability greater than 3. Drops a Holdo to the Carbonite Chamber. Potentially setting up a drain of 2 if he's able to flip, or a drain of +1 if he's able to flip, I guess. I don't know why else he would drop Holdo there. Okay, that's why you would drop Holdo there. You're going to spend 1 to move her to the security tower. Probably spend 1 to send Ellers there too. And I imagine U3PO is going to go too. Nope, alright. U3PO stays put. He's doing this specifically to prevent Ellers from being Carbonite frozen. I'm sure of it. He's all mixed up. He's got his general in space and his admiral on the ground. So Drew draws a couple here. Draws up to 12. Jared using Elixir droids to kill U-3PO. Because take that. I mean, he's about to retrieve 2 force. Potentially 2 more if he battles his turn, so might as well use one of his lost interrupts that he can just get back. Alright, let's see a random card. Ellis and Hinthrow was revealed. Drew drawing another card, placing that useless free ride combo. Plays a Rescue in the Clouds. So Drew set himself up here to drain for 2 and 2. Whereas Jared is set up to drain for 1 and retrieve 2. I would be surprised if it was a second U-3PO. I think he just knows he's going to retrieve some cards and doesn't want to miss any. Like, I would not be surprised to see him retrieve to play First Strike, battle, and retrieve 3 more. So that's all 5 of them there. Doesn't want to miss out on any value. Jared's going to get a little value here. He's going to play Voyeur. And Drew, no doubt, is trying to decide if he wants to grab it or not. He's going to name Rescue in the Clouds. There's at least 1 in there. It is only 1. Drew loses an all-wings combo from hand. Interesting. Must have decided that Jared doesn't run Curry Stinger. Alright, Jared with 16 force active. Gonna grab a card with Egg first this time. We're gonna see him drain for 1, probably retrieve 2. While he's doing that, I'll just plug here. This is game 1 of game 2, or game 1 of 2 games. They're gonna play both in a row. And I am not going to be awake long enough to do both games, so if anybody is looking to stream Game 2, that is available for you. They're going to do that probably 5 minutes after this game ends. But we're still a ways away from that. So Jared grabbing a card, retrieving 1 with Erica. Draining for 2 now. Now that Menace Fades is not in effect. I forgot about that. He's also going to do 1 direct damage via You'll Be Dead. I'm wondering what Drew has decided to grab if he's not grabbing Voyeur. I know that Ryan's version of this deck, or I don't know if it's Ryan or if it's Connor's, but they like to play an Imperial Artillery, which is a lost interrupt because of You'll Be Dead. But because there's so much retrieval during the control phase, you can take that hit and just retrieve it immediately. So maybe he's looking to grab that. Maybe he's looking to grab a Lana combo, a barrier, something like that, just general good cards. So Jared used Lady Proxima, frowned Arctic Hui, and Drew finds himself with only 1 force active. And if you know Jared or have played against Jared, Jared does like first strike. So we'll see what happens here. Jango Fett for 3 to the Carbonite Chamber. DJS Per follows for 3. Prince Sizor, so that's not great for him currently. He of fire, or she, excuse me, Ray of 5 ability. So already not looking great. He's going to battle at power 16 versus 5 if he battles with just this. With only 4 force left and probably looking to retrieve 2, that's probably all he's going to deploy. Yeah, so if Drew has, well, Drew does have Finn. If Finn gets through, he's going to be power 9. Potentially can grab a Sorry About the Mess combo out of the deck. Potentially could play I'm Getting Good at This to draw 3 Destiny. It's just a matter of if that Finn gets through. Whereas Jared is 16 and 2 Destiny currently. I think if he had the first strike, he would have played Arctic Hui first and used that force to deploy one of the other guys. So I think that's probably safe also. So that lets him play something like handle this, so he can add a Destiny to power, be completely immune, though he's still going to get outpowered. That lets him play Blaster Proficiency potentially. Okay. Or none of the above is going to happen. And we're going to go right to the move phase, where Jared's going to lose 2 to Cloak. He's going to lose Dengar Virtual and Arsing with Rifle from the East pile. Alright, so definitely going to be an interesting turn of decisions for Drew here, right? Because he does get to drain for 2, which is fine. He's going to have all of his force if he wants it, except for 1, which I can't imagine he's going to want all of it. He's going to decide if he wants to flip or not. Okay, so uses all but 2. Activates 16. Jared doing CCT things, activating 2, grabbing a card. So if I'm Drew here, I'm trying to think what is best case scenario, leaving yourself only 2 force. It could just be a straight sorry about the mess on somebody and just retrieve 1, but that doesn't seem great. It could be solo and just draw 2 destiny, maybe thinking that ceasefire is going to get played. I don't know. I just don't understand the 2 force, so we'll see what's going on. In the meantime, he does drain for 2. Jared's going to lose Darrow and P59. Drew checking out his destinies. That is a good point, Yoshi. So, if Drew wants to battle, he could flip and then use force to look at the top card of each pile and put them both on reserve deck. Instead, General Leia goes to the audience chamber. So now your best case scenario goes to probably a leadership and some extra power. Okay. Don't need the leadership anymore. Hera's going to be able to add a destiny. No danger of none shall pass because Erica's there. So I'm guessing if he liked his destiny, he's going to be able to clear 2 guys. So his total is going to be over 7. To get 3 guys, you're going to need 14. That's not going to happen. Okay, here's Cassian also. I agree. I would much rather have weapons display than Goldenrod. And I said as much to Drew after we played this matchup the other day. Alright, so we're not going to see a battle this turn. Drew is just going to go to his move phase, just going to drop some guys there, see what happens. So he's still staring down a Ray that is not drawing Destiny against Izor and 2 Destinies. Now he's also staring down 18 power in the audience chamber. 18 power and 2 Destinies, which he can cancel 1. Plus a weapon shot at +2. He does save 3 force this time, but paying 1 for Lando, he's down to 2. So Arctic can take 1 of those potentially. We still think that, or we know that Finn is in Drew's hand, so Finn is able to react, but Gick, I'm pretty sure, was retrieved recently. So it should be able to be found by IG. Jared's got 13 Force active. He put back a couple high destiny cards. I saw Cold Feet and I saw He's All Yours Bounty Hunter, so that's a 4 and a 5. First Strike isn't terrible, right? So Arctic can take 1 Force, you've got 1 left. If he battles at the Audience Chamber first, you can forfeit Cassian and get 1 to use with Ray, and if he battles Ray first, he's got that 1. It's not as rough as it was last turn. So Jared not able to drain anywhere, does retrieve 1 with Erica. Retrieve someone with the objective as well. Will do 1 damage with You'll Be Dead. Oh, no, you won't, because you need a control for You'll Be Dead. So here's Arctic. Arctic using a Force to play Pondabout V. Needs to be with a Smuggler. Let's see. Don't think any of them are Smugglers. Alright, so no First Strike, but we see Jared battle here against the Lone Ray. Gonna retrieve 2. We'll try to deploy Finn as a react. That's gonna get canceled by the Get combo. So Ray straight up not having a good time. Well, potentially. We'll see how the rest of it goes. So Finn did get canceled. I don't think Jared needs to do anything else in this battle, so Ray will get to swing at somebody. And he should know his destinies, right? Because he hasn't lost any Force since then. So he should know if he can hit the 3, the 4, or the 5. They're all Django. They're all forfeit 6. Yeah, that makes sense. You swing against Zizor and hope that you can hit him, play Sorry About the Mess, and then draw Destiny. I could also see him swinging at Django and playing... Is it called Handle or is it called Take Care of Myself? I don't know which one it is anymore. Playing that to add a Destiny to power, and maybe you just lose Ray. So he's going to swing at Zizor. There's that Sorry About the Mess that he would love to have. So So 2 and a 5 should hit. Is going to be able to retrieve Hear Me Baby Hold Together. Jared's going to use Arctic to check out his destinies. Or maybe he just really wanted a Jawa Blaster, I don't know. Alright, so Jared just drawn 2 destinies. That's all we got. The first one is a 2. The next one is a 5. So it's going to be 23 power to raise 5 plus a destiny. Which he doesn't draw, dummy. It's late, I'm tired. So, difference of 18 power. Ray covers 7. He does have a Hoojix in hand, so I imagine we'll see that here after the resilience, of course. Alright, so not terrible here. It does have an opportunity to rebeat. A couple things that I thought were going to happen. I thought maybe you might see Drew flip when the first battle happened, but we didn't. And in the absence of that, I thought you might see Drew use the sight text to make him power -2, which we didn't. But we will see... Alright, he is going to flip here because there is a weapon in this battle. Makes more sense to me. Going to Stunning Leader. So that's going to get rid of a lot of guys here. Okay, that is not good for Drew. Now is facing down 11 power and a destiny where he has 4 power and no destiny and 5 forfeit. Luckily, Ig can't shoot here. So Ig's going to draw destiny. I imagine that 3 gets canceled. So R2-D2 gets placed out of play. Drew will have to lose Cassian and 2 cards. Yeah, Justin, I think Drew probably had that in the back of his mind. But the only guy there was Ig, right? So he knows he can flip in that battle and prevent that shot. Probably not expecting to lose anything, but dropping that extra 4 power is really what just caused the overflow. And there's not many other people in this deck that you can drop. It's maybe like Greedo and I guess Dengar would be bad, but I think Greedo, Dengar, and Zam, and we've seen Zam go lost a couple times, Dengar go lost a couple times. Maybe a 4-lom. Alright, that's probably enough then. He should be worried about it. Should he force projection and then cancel? I think you want to save force projection. I think he can look at that and see that he's going to lose 2 force because he can cancel the destiny. And that's not a huge deal, especially with a, what was an 11 card hand, or 9 card hand. So Jared gonna grab resistance and code clearance. What did he lose from hand? So he lost Wedge in Red Squadron 1 and the Odin Nestler combo. Jared's then gonna cloak, losing He's All Yours, Bounty Hunter, and Dr. E. Alright, so all in all, a good turn for Jared. Got Drew to burn his Hujix. Got rid of Cassian without having to worry about him. Excuse me. Took over that site that was a Drain of 2 for Drew also. And has considerable power at the audience chamber. And still is able to cloak in space and retrieve those 2 cards back anyway. So sounds good to me. Drew is still going to be able to drain for 2 here. He did Resilience the Ray, so he has the Ray. I think one of the cards in reserve deck is Sorry About the Mess. So I can see a scenario here where you see Ray and Finn go to the Carbonite chamber. Finn pulls that Sorry About the Mess. You swing it, Djas Per, make him lost, and then you're 9 power against Jango Fett's 7. Sounded better when I started talking about it. Alright, so Legend doing Legend things, peeking at cards, putting them on reserve deck. So he knows what his top 2 on reserve deck are. Ray instead to the audience chamber. So he's got 5 in reserve. That looks like a swing and 2 destiny, if he can do it. Ray's going to get barriered with one of its own force, just to add insult to injury. And that barrier will go through. And is not grabbed. BB-8 to the audience chamber. I don't know how I feel about that. Because if BB-8 gets lost, or if he's forfeited, not lost, that will add 1 to his drains if he ever takes the audience chamber back. Jango is easier to hit. Jango's armor 5, though. But you're right, he does draw Destiny. So not a great plan. Doesn't matter, though. Ray went to the audience chamber. Pay for Lando. Say go. Alright, so here we are on turn 8. Jared with 19 force in life force, 7 in hand. Drew with 15, 18, 19, I can't count, 20 in life force and 5 in hand, so pretty even. Very much in the mid game at this point. Jared is poised to do a drain of 1 here and retrieve 2 cards. He's going to have 13 force to work with after he takes a card with Ig here. trying to think of who we haven't seen yet that is potentially in the deck. So I'm pretty sure Dr. E, Aura Singh, Dengar are all lost. So we're probably not going to see them this turn. But you could see Greedo or Cad Bane or Zam. They could end up at the audience chamber. Zam could end up at the security tower just to retrieve a couple force. He's going to use Proxima here. Check out the top 3 cards. Doesn't look like there's an alien in them. Oh, there is. Look at that. It's Aura Singh. He's going to drain for 1 at the Carbonate Chamber. Rose comes off the top. Erica retrieves 1 after Zizor. Excuse me. Yeah, Zizor was already retrieved by the objective. There's Lixer Droids back to make BB-8 lost, but not forfeited. I mean, if his plan is to battle here at the audience chamber, you probably don't do that. Just because you want to be able to take BB-8 captive, if for nothing else than to deliver him to retrieve to, or to... oh, that's a much more fun play. That is not a line I would have seen. Alright, so he's going to make him lose BB-8 so he can play the imbalance combo, which allows him to take the top card of Lost Pile into hand. In this case, it's Dr. E. So deploying Dr. E will allow him to shoot somebody with Aegis Gun and potentially shoot somebody with an Aura Singh that he just drew with Proxima, leaving 1 person alone, if he wants to go that route. And if I were him, I would want to go that route. Alright, so he'll battle here. He's already up 27 power to 13. He's going to retrieve 2 force. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that puts him at 22 life force. We've got another Fin React. This time it will go through. But he will get barriered. 23. I think if you're Drew, you grab this here. Just because that could be the end. But he doesn't. Boba Fett is going to go get a card. So that allows him to look at all of his destinies. He knows the top 2. Or not the top 2, I guess. He knows 2 out of 4. Can exchange that high destiny card in hand that can't go used with maybe a used interrupt. Maybe a Voyeur or something. What Drew does have going for him is that he probably has the handle interrupt. So this is a 5 with Boba Fett's gun to shoot Hera, which gets redrawn. A 2 will still hit because it fires that +2. And handle will cancel that weapon destiny. So Rey will get a swing here. Rey's going to swing at Dr. E. And we'll barely hit him. 2 and a 1. Dr. E's hit. That allows Drew to retrieve BB-8. Yeah, missing that shot with Boba Fett hurts. Aura can't hit as well, but can still take out Hera. Finn is barriered, so that adder's not going to do anything for him, but or this turn at least. Yeah, Justin, I do think that is the plan, is to leave Rey. I think that's why he swung at Dr. E, so that he doesn't have to deal with disarmed. Finn can grab that Satum off the bottom of the deck. I still don't know that you can clear everything, though. I guess with 3 Destinies this turn. See what happens. Potentially 3 Destinies this turn. So Aura is going to try to shoot Hera and miss also. So that leaves him with just 1 Destiny as well. So 27 plus a Destiny, let's call it a 330. To Drew's... Hey, it was a 3. 13 plus 3 Destiny. And Force Projection. Okay. Though that 1 is unfortunate. So a total battle destiny of 3. Plus 1 from Despair. Drew's going to draw 5, 4... 5, 4, 5 for 14 to take him to 27, so he will only lose 1 guy, 1 girl. Whereas Jared's going to have to deal with 14 attrition and lose Dr. E. No forfeit bonus like in court, so you're looking at like Fett for 6, Erica covers 7, but that's only 13, so that's not a great combination. Proxima's only 6. Yeah, that is not how I expected that turn to go. Arctic is 3. R is 5. So 3 more is either Ponda or Arctic. Yeah, Legend is in pretty good shape here, right? Because Jared's going to have to lose 2 force to Cloak Maul. Already has a small hand, sitting only with 4 cards. That'll go up to 5 next turn. Drew, on the other hand, once he recirculates, will be able to use Finn to grab Mess. Can Mess Proxima. He's going to drain for 2. And then during battle, there, so he's going to put Walking out of play to retrieve 1, get that Hera back. So there's Finn grabbing Mess. And we know Jared used his imbalance combo to enable that play in the first place to retrieve Dr. E into hand. So Drew activates 14, but Jared using one of those 14 just to shuffle his deck. Yeah, we should know 2 cards in Jared's hand too, right? It should be Ellison Ship and He's All Yours Bounty Hunter. So not a great hand to go do anything. Maybe you can start sending Ellis over to Octo to go drain for 2, but that's not going to help you win the game. That's just going to help you lose by a little bit less. Does get a card with Egg. Alright, so Drew checking out his Destinies. Puts both cards on reserve deck so he knows what he's got here. He's going to swing at, I think Proxima makes the most sense. Does swing at Proxima. Has at least a 4. So 4-1. At the mercy of a dark time here, but Jared doesn't have it. So Proxima goes lost. Ray's going to retrieve that force projection. Drew gonna check out the rest of his destinies here. Alright, so he's got one card in hand. So no deploy, just a battle. We'll get to retrieve that mess again with Leia. Does have the Destiny adder, so drawing 3 Destiny here. Big is going to shoot Boba's gun at Finn, and he finds that same 2 that he found earlier. So that does hit Finn, but that does not make him forfeit 0, I believe. Does not. Rey is going to fire at Arctic Hui. So it does hit Arctic Hui. Gets to retrieve another card. Gets that teamwork card back. Drawing 3 Destiny. Needs to draw 8 to get rid of everything. Starting with a 1 though. Up to 6. Alright, so he will clear everything. That's going to be 10 attrition. Jared draws the 3, so he's going to be 17, so he'll just have to lose everything. And Drew will lose Finn. Alright, so again, not how I thought that was going to turn out at the start of last turn. But Legend does some dumb things. CCT, Scum decks in general kind of have some bad luck with some Destinies. So that's how it goes sometimes. Frozen Corn Horde will just sit there. And then out of play. Drew learning about unattended frozen captives on the fly. We'll spend 4 force to cancel Scum. Can't imagine that CCT is playing 2. Alright, so that's about the best case scenario for Drew. To cancel Scum, to take over, has a battleground site, occupies a battleground system, still able to drain for 2 at the security tower. Looks like he's doing 4 force a turn in damage, 6 if you count Maul's cloaking. Whereas Jared is going to do 1 a turn and retrieve 1. So that could get out of hand pretty quick. That one he's retrieving this turn is scum, though, so that's not... It's not over yet. Alright, so he's got Dengar with his gun. And he's got Zam also. Holdo is a leader. Oh yeah, full price aliens. Oof. That's not a good time. Alright, so Dengar gonna try to shoot Hellers. Does hit. Trying to shoot Holdo now also. Not gonna hit Holdo. Got that plot armor. So power 7, power 11 after Destiny. To Drew's 4. Oh, Legend can do legend things. So power 10 to Drew's 4 plus a Destiny. So that's going to be, oh god, 10.28. So he'll win the battle. Not that it matters. That does mean that Jared is not going to get to cause force loss with Zam. Oh, he is, because Drew did that in the wrong order. Okay. So Drew, because he lost Holdo before Ellers, will have to lose 2 force. Zam goes lost, can get a card from the force pile. Drew's probably very mad at himself right now. Jared's going to spend the 2 force, or lose the 2 force, excuse me, to Cloak. So Voyeur goes lost, and now Hutta from hand. And on Drew's turn, he's going to get to drain for 2, and then we'll see what else he's got. He's going to take a peek at what's in Jared's hand. I hope he finds Ellis and Chip again. It is Ellis and Chip again. Excellent. So Drew going to drain for 2. Looks like Projective and Barrier from reserve deck. Oh, it is 3. Excuse me. Legend does so many things, I just don't remember them all. So Projective, Barrier, and Ellis and Hinther from hand. Projective and Barrier from reserve. Drew going to check out his destinies, knows he has 4 cards and 5. Bowcaster to the audience chamber just to reinforce a bit here. Gonna peek at a couple cards, see if he wants to draw either of them. They go to reserve deck, so he doesn't need them. Makes Rose an option. Oh, you mean with because of Stunning Leader? You know what else makes Stunning Leader less attractive? Weapons display. So Jared drains for 1. Drew loses the Destiny Adder. He's going to retrieve with his objective. Has Jabba's Haven here, so that will allow him to retrieve an alien. I think your choice here is probably Erica. Yep, Erica V. She could potentially go to, could have gone to the Maz's Castle 2-1, but goes to the Carbonite Chamber instead. So Jared definitely playing for diff here. That Erica will allow him to retrieve on a turn. He's still going to lose 2 to Cloak Maul. Loses Zizor and Dr. Chelly. I think you're a ways away from him going used, right? Because right now, Drew's doing 5 a cycle. Alright, maybe not that far away. So Drew draining for 3 again at the audience chamber. Jared losing None Shall Pass from hand. And then Woof and Surface Defense from reserve deck. So 7 in Life Force and 5 in hand for Jared. 17 in Life Force and 3 in hand for Drew. Jared does still have Decree active, so he can drop just about anybody to the Maz's Castle site to drain for 1. Just to up a little damage. And that's pretty much Drew's turn. Pays for Lando this turn. Drew losing a 2nd Destiny Adder. That would let Lightside retrieve. I was trying to think if he had any way to retrieve, and I just did not think of Leia. But in my defense, I'm tired. So right now, Jared is at 9 life force and 5 in hand. Drew is at 17 life force and 2 in hand. Cad Bane does go to the Maz's Castle site, but he already draws anyway. Who resistance character wise is left that Drew would want to battle with though? Because Ray is out. Finn is lost. I guess Solo is still alive. So Jared continuing to cloak. Losing Utah from hand and Hondo from use pile. I got there eventually. I realized Solo was still left. So Drew has 13 force active, 4 in reserve. We'll drain for 3 again here. So Jared, with 3 in hand, opting to lose from reserve deck, did set up resistance, so we'll only lose 2. Loses Duro and Slave 1 from reserve deck. Rose with Ahsoka or Qui. I mean, Qui-Gon is just good by himself, right? Because he's going to be able to be 7 plus a Destiny to 4 plus a Destiny. And right on cue, Qui-Gon. So just Qui-Gon, who is 6 plus a Destiny, not 7. Cad Bane, armor 5. But that 6 will take care of him. So Jared's staring down 2 plus the difference in Destinies of force loss here. So 11. So 7 minus whatever he draws. So force loss of 4. Drew deciding if he wants to let him keep that 3. I think that's the right play. So there goes Qui-Gon. Did his job. Cad Bane and 4 cards. Cad Bane and 1 card. Because Gick. Alright, so Jared will start his turn with 6 life force, 2 in hand. Drew's sitting at 17 life force still, 1 in hand. I still think we're in pay for Lando mode. Jared activates everything. Going to drain from 1. Is going to spend the force to retrieve 1, so not going to draw up here. Drew has no hand, so he's not worried about anybody coming down to battle. As long as he loses 2 for Maul, he can't battle in space. has a Napolitano to go to Maz's castle. So artillery goes lost, and Ellis goes lost for Jared to cloak. So Drew will drain for 3, but Jared will lose 2. It's Elixir Droids from hand, Cad Bane from reserve deck. Oh, the solo pool to the reserve deck? From the reserve deck? Okay. That's not bad. So peeks at some cards. We'll go look at his reserve deck, see what he can find in there. I imagine Solo is the only target there, right? Because Chewie's on the table, and it's not like you would play a Crusher or a Maz. Just a matter of if Solo is in the deck or not. I'm guessing that Solo was not in the deck. So Ray's going to move over, where she can go drain for an extra 1. Drew's going to draw a couple cards, because he's going to lose at least 2 to drains here. Finds free ride again. It's definitely not Ellis and Hinther this time. But it does get grabbed. Just a little bit of an oops. It is Cold Feet in Jared's hand. Alright, so with all 4 force here, you drain for 1, drain for 1. Pay 1 to retrieve 1, pay 1 to retrieve 1. And then lose 2 and still sit at 4 force. So 2 more turns. He's going to drain for 2 and 1 because he's got resistance out. So there goes Elixir Droids again, and woof for the cloaking. Alright, so 2 life force left for Jared, 3 in hand. Drew is going to do 3 damage total. Is likely not going to find Solo again in that reserve deck. So he will have to take 2 more. Well, maybe he will find Solo. We'll see how that works out. Both cards go to reserve deck. So a Gick from hand for the first force. The drain of 3, limited to 2. Scum goes, and Cold Feet goes. So Jared with no cards in hand now. And did not find solo in reserve deck again, so just pay for Lando, say go. Looks like eat the drain of 2. Is he gonna get another turn? No, because he's gonna have to potentially cloak or lose the game there. So Jared will drain for 1 and 1. That will take Drew's life force to 12. He can potentially retrieve 1 and 1. But I think at this point you just draw up and keep those 2 out of the loss pile in case of tiebreakers, because 12 is it's a pretty common number. It's not a big win, it's a normal win. And I think that's what he's weighing right now. I will put out a call again. I am not going to be awake for this next game that's about to happen 5 minutes after the end of this one, so if anybody wants to take over streaming, feel free. I mean, there's 16 of you guys watching right now. Some of them in the game itself also. Jared does draw. So that is a full win for Drew by 12 with 26 in loss pile. Jared has 37 in loss pile. Looks like they're going to take about a 10-minute break, so that puts it to right at 10:30 for game 2. I have not heard from anybody about streaming, so definitely take a look. Check out the Slack, check out the Discord, see if anybody wants to volunteer for that. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. I do have fun streaming this, even if I complain a little bit. So thank you guys for following me too. I don't know why I have 34 followers. That's way too many followers. But yeah, so enjoy game 2 in about 10 minutes. See you guys.